this is, shifting focus now to Syria. It's been a year since Syria witnessed the fall of an Assad. It took 54 years for it to happen after a swift 11-day assault by Al-Sharaa, whose transition from being one of the most wanted terrorists to now a world leader who's actually met Donald Trump in office. In Oval Office, he had that meeting and addressed Committee of Nations at the United Nations. Yes, all that has happened. But things have been far from perfect. In fact, things haven't looked up so much for the average Syrian who's still battling sectarian violence, chants of death calls to his fellow minority countrymen. This report tells you what all has happened in the last 1 year and why it almost seems like the more things change, the more they remain the same. Take a look.
I come to you from Damascus, the capital of history and the cradle of civilizations, a beautiful country that has taught the world the meaning of civilization and the value of human beings and coexistence. Syria, however, for 60 years fell under a repressive rule that disregarded the value of the territory it ruled over.
This is how much the world has changed in the last year. Al-Sharaa, the man who took down Bashar al-Assad's government, is no longer most wanted and is now rubbing shoulders with world leaders. Not too long ago, the Trump administration, which hosted Al-Sharaa at the Oval Office, had a bounty of over $10 million on his head. But Al-Sharaa is no unifying figure. Syria is a Sunni majority country but has Shiites, Christians, Alawites and Kurds, which are predominantly in the northeast, all of whom are yet to come together as a country. The power transition may have been swift, but not the political transition. Add to it the fact that there has been no transitional justice. Perpetrators of the most heinous crimes committed in Syria are yet to be brought to justice. Whether for those close to the Assad regime or even those on the other side. For most Syrians, life continues to be very challenging. A crippling economy, rebuilding of the nation, a painful process that is yet to begin. Being a key player in the geopolitical chessboard, with all major nations having their own interests, both Saudi Arabia and Turkey have deep interests in Syria and will dictate which way the national will go from here. Bureau Report, NDTV.
Let's now document for you viewers what all has actually happened in the last 1 year. When we say that sectarian violence has engulfed Syria, let's document some of those specific flashpoints for you. First and foremost, in December of last year, tensions with the Kurdish forces actually peaked in northeast part of Syria. This was just weeks into the transition and you had seen massive flashpoints that took place in the northeast, which is where there's a large chunk of Kurdish population that stays. This year in March, 1,400 Alawites were actually gunned down under Hayat al-Hasham's command. This happened where now Alawites are a very important part of the minority population in Syria and are under attack. In June of this year, there were 25 people who were killed in the Church of St. Elias bombing. Now, this is again the Christians there. It is part of the Greek Orthodox Church where the bombing took place, sent shockwaves around the world. That while Al-Sharaa, you can try and mainstream him and his government, but you cannot overlook what really is happening in the country. Next up, there was the Israeli bombings that rocked Damascus. As far as Israel is concerned, there is that big fault line with regard to Israel and Syria. That is something that Donald Trump is trying to fix, but there are no easy answers there. In July of this year, hundreds were killed this year when there was the Druze militia and the Sunni Bedouin clashes that took place. This is something that's extremely important to understand why Syria has no quick fixes. In fact, November of this year, Israel attacked Damascus over farmland, and that tells you that sectarian violence is something that has been continuing in the country and something that there are no easy answers to and cannot be overlooked as well. And that's the single important aspect. And which brings us to the blinkers off segment. Viewers, the worst is not over for Syria as yet. Yes, the 14-year-long civil war has come to an end, but there are hundreds, maybe thousands of ISIS sleeper cells that remain in Syria. And the former jihadist leader will have to account for the fact that massive threat comes from over 9,000 ISIS terrorists that were released from prisons. To reconstruct his country, Al-Sharaa needs Western funding. But back home, minorities are under attack. There is a backlash to not sign the Abraham Accords with Israel. 1 year ago, Syrians were chanting, "Lift your head up, you're a Syrian." Now there are death calls for each other that they're all chanting on their faces. Everyone needs to get over the romantic notion that everything in Syria is now perfect after Bashar al-Assad has gone. That isn't the case. The world needs to recognize that.